A loud sound broke the evening sky. People standing outside the Grand Royal Hotel looked up in shock. A helicopter was coming closer, cutting the air like a giant metal bird. No one expected anything like this at a normal school reunion. The wind from the helicopter pushed dust, banners, and even some people back. Everyone covered their faces. The reunion lights shook. The security guard ran forward, confused, trying to understand what was happening inside the hotel garden. The old classmates were enjoying their evening. Many of them were now married. Some had kids, some had jobs they hated, and some were still proud of their cool school days. They were busy laughing, drinking, telling old stories about high school life. Someone suddenly shouted from outside, a helicopter. "Guys, come and look!" Everyone rushed toward the gate. Excited voices filled the air. Maybe a celebrity came. Maybe the hotel made a mistake. No, who would land a helicopter here? The helicopter slowly came down on the open ground beside the hotel. The noise was so loud that people had to cover their ears. A bright white light flashed from the helicopter's landing lamps. The entire place looked like a movie scene. Then someone laughed loudly. No one from our class could afford a helicopter. People agreed and laughed with him. Another voice added, "Maybe some businessman lost his way." Everyone laughed again. But deep inside, they were scared, confused, curious all at the same time. The helicopter door stayed closed for a few long seconds. Seconds that felt heavy. Seconds that felt like the air itself was waiting. Then, the door opened. Slowly. A tall shadow appeared. Only the silhouette. Nothing more. A hand came out first, wearing a shiny watch. Then a foot stepped out, black heels touching the ground softly. The person walked with calm confidence, but the face was still hidden. People whispered, "Who is that? A man? A woman? Why do they walk like they know everyone here? Do we know them?" Everyone moved closer. Phones came out. Someone started recording. The helicopter blades slowed down. The noise became weaker. The silence became stronger. A woman standing near the front gasped. She grabbed her friend's arm tightly. "No way. It cannot be her." "Who?" her friend asked. Before she could answer, the narrator's voice filled the scene, calm, deep, almost emotional. 10 years ago, she was the girl everyone called the class loser. The camera of the story flashes back a small classroom. A lonely girl sitting at the back seat, old books, old shoes, eyes full of sadness. Students throwing paper balls at her. Boys laughing, girls whispering behind her back, teachers ignoring her existence. The narrator continues. The girl nobody sat with. The girl nobody talked to. The girl they invited today. Only to laugh at again. The story returns to the present. The shadow steps fully out of the helicopter now. Long hair, perfect dress, elegant posture. A woman who looked nothing like the girl they once bullied. People stare, eyes wide, mouths open. Everyone's silent. Someone whispers, "Is that really her?" Someone else says, "But she was poor. How can she arrive like this?" Others look at each other in shock. Their smiles fade. Their confidence melts. Their old, cool attitudes disappear. The narrator adds, 10 years ago, they laughed at her. Tonight, they waited for her. The woman slowly takes off her sunglasses. Her eyes shine under the hotel lights. She looks around the crowd, not with anger, not with revenge, but with a calm strength they never saw before. Everyone feels nervous. She takes one step forward, just one. But that single step hits them harder than any word. The narrator ends. Part 1 with a powerful line. She was once the rejected girl of the class. Now she was the person they could not ignore. The story moves back 10 years. A small school building stands under the hot sun. Students run, laugh, shout, chase each other, and live their young lives with full energy. But in one corner of the school, a quiet girl walks alone. Her name was Arya. Arya always carried a heavy school bag, old water bottle, and books that were taped on the sides because they were too old. Her uniform was clean, but faded. Her hair was tied in a simple ponytail. She tried to keep herself invisible, but somehow, People noticed her only to make fun of her. Every morning, she entered the school with slow steps. She looked at the group sitting together, girls sharing snacks, boys joking loudly, teachers talking proudly, but she never felt part of any of it. She always sat in the last bench near the window. That spot became her little world. From there, she listened to the teacher, watched clouds outside, and tried to stay away from everyone who wanted to hurt her. One boy from the class, named Ryan, loved to say loudly, "Hey look, the class loser arrived." Every time he said it, the whole room laughed. Arya pretended she didn't hear, pretended she didn't care, pretended their words didn't cut her heart, but they did. During lunch break, she always sat alone under a tree. She ate simple food, bread or bread with butter. The other girls made fun of her lunch. "Why do you eat the same thing every day? Your food smells weird. Did your mom forget to cook again?" She smiled a little and stayed silent. People often think silence means weakness. They never understand that silence sometimes means pain trying not to break open. One day, Arya forgot her homework notebook. When the teacher asked for it, she quietly said, "Sorry, ma'am, I left it at home." The teacher didn't shout, but the class did. Ryan said loudly, "Of course she forgot. She's the loser who forgets everything." Everyone laughed again. Arya looked down at her hands. Her fingers shook. The teacher continued the lesson without defending her. That was the worst part. Nobody stood up for her. Not even the adults. Not even once. After class, Arya went to the washroom, closed the door, and cried softly so no one could hear. She didn't cry because of the teasing. She cried because she felt completely alone. But even in that loneliness, a small voice inside her whispered, "One day, you will not be this girl. One day, they will see your worth." Arya held on to that small voice like it was the only light in her darkness. At home, things were not easy. Her mother worked in a small shop. Her father was sick and could not work. Money was always short. Arya wanted new books, new shoes, and a normal teenage life, but she never complained. She studied by the dim kitchen bulb, washed her own clothes, and helped her mother whenever she could. When her mother asked school was okay today, Arya always replied with a smile, "Yes, Mama." Everything was fine. She never told her about the bullying. She didn't want her mother to worry more, but inside, she dreamed big dreams, quietly, secretly. She dreamed of becoming successful. She dreamed of proving everyone wrong. She dreamed of walking into a place where people would finally respect her. There was one teacher, Mrs. Jordan, who once told the class, "Hard work changes lives, not popularity." Arya remembered that sentence every night. She wrote it on a piece of paper and kept it inside her notebook like a treasure. But school life continued with the same routine. Same bullying, same silence, same pain, and then came the last day of school. Everyone hugged their friends, signed shirts, took photos, and cried for memories. Arya stood alone near the gate. No one asked for her photo. No one signed her shirt. No one said goodbye. But she smiled anyway, because as she walked out of the school gate one final time, she whispered to herself, "This is not my ending. This is my beginning." Didn't know how. She didn't know when, but she swore she would return stronger. And that promise, that quiet promise, was the first step towards the helicopter she would one day arrive in. When school ended, Arya stepped into the real world with the same quiet courage she carried for years. She had no friends, no support, no money, and no plan. But she did have one thing that others never saw: a deep fire inside her. A fire created from years of humiliation. Life after school was not easy. Arya's father's health became worse, and her mother worked longer hours. Bills piled up like mountains. Sometimes they even struggled to buy basic groceries. Arya knew she had to help her family somehow, but because she had no college admission and no strong grades, she could only find small jobs. She worked in a small bookstore after school hours, cleaned tables in a cafe, and sometimes even helped her neighbor by babysitting her kids for a little money. Every night, after finishing all these small jobs, she came home tired. But she didn't sleep. She opened her old second-hand laptop, which took 5 minutes just to turn on. And she started searching the internet. She searched for anything that could help her grow. How to start a business. To learn a skill for free? How to make money. Online. How to be confident. Her journey began from Google search results, not from a classroom. Not from teachers, not from friends. The internet became her secret teacher. One night she came across a video on digital design. It was simple, just shapes, colors, and text. But for Arya, it felt like magic. She watched the video again and again. She tried copying the designs using a free app. Her first design looked bad. Very bad. But something inside her said, try again. So she tried again. And again. And again. Days turned into weeks. And Arya started getting better. Her hands moved faster. Her ideas became clearer. Her designs slowly looked more professional. But still, no one knew. No one believed in her. No one asked about her progress. This was her quiet journey. Her secret world. Her escape. One evening, while working at the cafe, she overheard 2 customers talking. I hired someone to design my business logo, one man said proudly. How much did it cost? The other asked. $200? Arya froze. $200. For one logo. Her breath got stuck. Her mind started running fast. She thought to herself, if I can learn this skill better, maybe I can earn something too. That night, she worked harder than ever before. She watched more tutorials, practiced more designs, and improved slowly. Her old laptop heated like crazy, but she didn't stop. One day, she gathered the courage to post her designs on a free online platform. She didn't expect anything. She just wanted to try. Hours passed. No response. A whole day passed. Nothing. Then, at 2:13 a.m., a notification popped up. A message. Her first message, hello, I like your work. Can you design a logo for my shop? How much will you charge? Arya's heart jumped. Her hands shook. She typed a reply slowly. Hello, thank you. I can do it. I charge $15. She waited. The client replied, okay, I will hire you. Her first job. Her first chance, Arya worked on that logo with all her heart. She tried different styles, colors, shapes. She didn't sleep that night. She delivered the design the next morning. The client loved it. He paid her. $15, it was a small amount for the world. But for Arya, it was a miracle. That night, she held the money in her hand and smiled for the first time in months. She whispered to herself, maybe I can do this. Maybe I have something special. Slowly, more clients came. Not many, but enough to make her believe in herself. But her real turning point came months later when an online entrepreneur saw her designs and sent her, in a message, I want to work with you long term. You have talent. Don't stop. These 3 lines changed her life, because for the first time ever, someone believed in her. That small message gave her a strength she didn't know she had. She started dreaming bigger, working harder, growing faster. The girl who was once called the class loser was now quietly building a future the world wasn't ready for. A future that would one day shock everyone at the reunion. Arya's journey toward success did not begin with a loud bang. It began quietly, just like her life had always been. But this time, the world would soon hear her. Months passed and Arya continued designing every day. She worked on small projects, logos, banners, social media posts. Some clients paid very little. Some didn't pay at all. Some disappeared without a single reply. But Arya kept going. Her old laptop crashed often. It froze, it overheated, it shut down without warning. Still, she opened it again each time. She whispered, just one more design. Please, as if the laptop could hear her. She drank cold tea, ate quick dinners, and stayed awake until sunrise. While the world slept, Arya was building something powerful: skill, discipline, and belief. One morning, she received a message from a new client in another country. I want a full brand design. Logo, colors, packaging. Can you handle it? Arya stared at the screen for a full minute. Her heart pounded. No one had ever trusted her with such a big job before. She finally replied carefully, "Yes, I can." The client asked for a video call. Arya felt nervous. Her English was not perfect, her clothes were simple, and her room background was plain. But she sat straight and talked with courage. The client smiled and said, "You are talented. I want to give you a chance." That one chance changed everything. She worked on the project day and night. She created designs that even surprised herself. When she delivered the final files, the client wrote, "This is amazing. You are amazing. Expect more work soon." And more work did come, slow at first, then suddenly fast. One client recommended another. That client recommended another. Within a few months, Arya's inbox became full of messages from different people asking for her services. She no longer had to search for clients. Clients searched for her with every new project. Her confidence grew like a small seed turning into a strong tree. She upgraded her laptop. She bought a desk. She created a small workspace in the corner of her room. Her mother watched her silently, tears in her eyes, proud but unable to express it in words. One evening, a large marketing company contacted her. "We want you to design for one of our major campaigns. The pay is good. Can you join our meeting tomorrow?" Arya almost dropped her phone. Her hands trembled as she typed, "Yes, I will be there." That project was the biggest challenge of her life. She was no longer just making small logos. She was designing a full visual identity for a national brand. She worked through stress, fear, excitement, and pressure. But every time she felt overwhelmed, she reminded herself, "I survived school. I survived loneliness. I can survive this too." After 2 weeks, she delivered the final campaign. The company replied with a single line, "This is brilliant. We want to work with you permanently." Permanently. Arya couldn't believe it. She wanted to scream, cry, laugh all at once. Her mother hugged her tightly, whispering, "You did it, my child. You did it." From that day on, Arya's life changed rapidly. She earned more money in a month than her family had earned in a whole year. She cleared her father's medical bills. She renovated their small home. She bought new clothes, new tools, and new dreams. And then, something unexpected happened. A famous magazine discovered her work and published a story on her, titled, "From Silence to Success, the Girl Who Designed Her Future." People who once bullied her saw the article. Some pretended not to remember her. Some sent fake friendly messages. Some said they always knew she had talent, even though they never believed in her. But Arya didn't reply. She didn't need their approval anymore. Success had given her something stronger, peace. As her success grew, she traveled for a design conference for the first time. She saw a helicopter parked outside the event hall. She watched it with admiration, whispering, "One day, maybe one day, I will sit inside one." She didn't know that one day would come much sooner than she imagined, because life was preparing her for something much bigger, a moment that would shock her entire batch at the reunion. 10 years had passed since the last day of school, but memories of that painful time still lived somewhere inside Arya. She didn't think about it often, but sometimes, on quiet nights, those old voices still echoed in her mind. Class loser, weird girl, she will never be successful. But now her life was different. Her business was growing. Her name was known in design circles. Companies trusted her. Clients waited for her. The girl who once walked with her head down now walked with confidence. One afternoon, while Arya was working on a new project, her phone buzzed. She checked the notification and froze. "Class 108 reunion, you are invited." She stared at the screen for a long moment. Her fingers did not move. Her breath slowed. Her heart felt strangely tight. A reunion. After 10 whole years, she clicked the message open. Inside was a group chat created by one of her old classmates, Sophia, the girl who used to lead the bullying group. The message read, "Hi everyone. We are planning a 10-year reunion next month at the Grand Royal Hotel. Please join. It will be fun to see how everyone turned out." Arya scrolled through the other messages. Ryan, yeah. Let's see who changed. And who didn't. Ha ha ha. James, we should invite everyone, even the boring ones. Sophia, should we invite Arya too? Another reply came immediately. Let her come. It will be funny to see her after so long. Arya felt her stomach twist. So it was not a kind invite. It was a joke, a chance for them to laugh again. For a moment, the old hurt returned. The old fears, the old pain. But then, another feeling rose inside her, a calm strength. She leaned back in her chair and whispered, "They still see me as the same girl." A small smile touched her lips. "They have no idea who I've become." Arya didn't reply immediately. She closed her phone and went back to work. But the invitation kept playing in her mind like a movie scene. Should she go? Should she ignore them? Should she face them? Should she prove anything? That night, she sat with her mother. "Mama," she said softly, "my class invited me to a reunion." Her mother looked up in surprise. "Oh, are you going?" Arya hesitated. "I don't know." Her mother touched her hand gently and said, "Child, happiness is not revenge, but sometimes standing in the place where you once cried, with a smile on your face, feels like healing." Arya thought about it long after her mother went to sleep. She remembered sitting alone in school. She remembered crying in the washroom. She remembered all the times she wanted to run away. And now, life was giving her a chance to return. Not to show off. Not to hurt anyone. But to close a chapter with dignity. The next morning, she opened the reunion message again. Her fingers typed slowly. "I will come." A few classmates reacted with the laughing emoji. She didn't care anymore in the following weeks. Arya continued her work, bigger clients, bigger projects, bigger responsibilities. But somewhere in her heart, she felt something building, like a quiet storm. Then, the day of the reunion arrived. Arya stood in front of her mirror, wearing a simple but elegant black dress. She didn't choose something flashy. She didn't want heavy makeup or diamonds. Her beauty came from her confidence, from the woman she had become. But she did choose one unforgettable detail, symbolic detail. She had arranged something dramatic, not out of pride, but out of strength. A helicopter ride. It wasn't about luxury. It wasn't about showing off. It was about walking into her past with the same confidence she walked into her future. When she arrived at the private helipad, the pilot greeted her with respect. "Ready, Miss Arya?" She nodded calmly. As the helicopter lifted into the sky, the world below grew smaller. The streets, the buildings, the old memories. Everything became tiny. The pilot spoke through the headset. "We'll be landing at the Grand Royal Hotel in 5 minutes." Arya looked out the window. Her eyes steady, her heart strong, she whispered to herself, "They invited me to mock me, but they will learn who I am now." Hello. At the hotel, her classmates laughed and joked, thinking the night would go exactly as they planned. But the loud roar in the sky was about to change everything. The loud thunder of the helicopter filled the evening sky above the Grand Royal Hotel. People at the reunion rushed outside, confused and excited, trying to see what was happening. The lights of the event flickered in the strong wind. Tablecloths flew. Glasses rattled. Phones came out of pockets instantly. Everyone pushed forward to get a better view. Ryan, still full of old arrogance, laughed loudly. "Who comes to a reunion in a helicopter? Maybe someone famous from another event." Sophia rolled her eyes with a smirk. "No one from our class could ever afford this." "Definitely not." The helicopter lowered slowly, sending dust into the air. The blades slowed. The noise softened. But the suspense grew heavier. Like the air itself was holding its breath. When the door finally opened, everyone leaned forward. A shadow stepped out. First, a heel. Then a calm, steady hand gripping the doorframe. Finally, a tall figure walked into the lights, graceful, confident, elegant. For a moment, no one recognized her. Then Sophia gasped loudly. Her voice shook as she whispered, "No. This can't be." Ryan's smile disappeared. James looked stunned, his mouth wide open. Arya walked toward them like she was walking through a quiet dream. Her hair fell softly on her shoulders, her dress glowing under the hotel lights. There was no fear in her eyes, no anger, no nervousness, only calm power. People whispered around her, "Is that really her? She looks so different. She looks successful. What happened to her? She was nothing in school." Arya stopped at the entrance of the reunion garden. For a second, no one said anything. The silence felt like the whole world had frozen. Then the host stuttered, "Arya, is that really you?" She smiled gently. "Yes, it's me." Her voice was soft, but it cut through the silence like lightning. Sophia tried to act normal. "Wow, you really came. This is unexpected." Arya simply nodded. "Thank you for the invitation." Ryan stepped forward awkwardly. "So you, arrived in a helicopter?" Arya looked at him with calm eyes. "I did." "Why?" he asked, trying to sound casual. She smiled again. "Because I could." A few people laughed nervously, not knowing how to react. The power balance had shifted completely. The old bullies looked small, confused, insecure. Arya walked further inside. People began to gather around her, asking questions. "What do you do now? Where do you live? How did you become so successful? You look amazing." Arya answered politely, but not proudly. "I work in design. I run my own company. I travel for work. I'm doing well." Sophia forced a laugh. "Good for you, Arya. I mean, none of us expected you to, become anything big." Arya turned toward her, her expression calm. "You didn't expect it," she said softly. "But I always did." Those simple words hit Sophia harder than any insult ever could. A teacher who had attended the event came closer. She looked at Arya with disbelief. "You have grown so much, dear. I am proud of you." Arya bowed her head respectfully. "Thank you, ma'am," for the first time in 10 years. She felt seen not as a loser, not as a joke. Not as an invisible girl, but as a strong woman who built herself from nothing. Later that night, the host asked Arya if she wanted to say a few words to the class. She hesitated, then stepped toward the small stage. Everyone turned silent as she faced them. She took a breath and spoke in a clear, gentle voice. "In school, I was alone. I was bullied. I was ignored. I was called names." People shifted uncomfortably, avoiding eye contact, but those things did not break me. They shaped me. Quiet gasp moved through the crowd. I learned that silence is not weakness. Hard work is not boring. And kindness is not foolish. She paused, her eyes soft but firm. "You invited me tonight to laugh at who I used to be. But I came to show you who I became." Her words fell into the air like stones dropping into water, creating waves that touched every heart. She ended with a final line. "Never underestimate someone because of their past. You never know what they are building for their future." The entire garden filled with applause, real, respectful, emotional. Some people cried. Some felt ashamed. Some felt inspired as Arya walked out of the hotel later. The night breeze touched her face gently. She looked back one last time and whispered to herself, "I didn't come to remember the pain. I came to celebrate the strength." And with that, she stepped into the helicopter, not as the class loser, but as the girl who proved that success is the loudest answer.